You know, when you're in a helping profession, good intentions, they just aren't enough. In fact, if we're not careful, they can actually do more harm than good. So, in this explainer, we're going to dig into the framework, the essential structures that turn those good intentions into work that's not just effective, but built to last. That passion that gets us into this work in the first place, it's an incredible gift, right? But it's also got a real dark side. Think of it like a fire. That zeal, if it's not channeled wisely, can end up burning the very people we want to help. And let's be honest, it'll burn us out too. So, this is the big question, isn't it? How do we protect everyone involved, the people we serve and ourselves, without losing that fire? That's what we're going to unpack today. We're going to build out a framework for a practice that's wise, humble, and most importantly, sustainable. All right, so here's our game plan. We'll start with the foundation, then get into the real meat of it, vocational humility and supervision as a form of protection. After that, we'll talk about the relationships that make it all tick, and we'll wrap up with your next step. Okay, first step, the servant steward foundation. Before we jump into the practical stuff like roles and meetings, we really have to get to the heart of it. Because how you see your role, it changes everything. So what is servant stewardship? Well, it's this really powerful idea that combines two roles into one. First, you've got servant. That's all about our posture, right? Being humble, working with people, not talking down to them. Then you have steward, and that's about responsibility. It means we're just managers, not owners of our gifts, our resources, and, crucially, the trust that people give us. And this slide really nails the difference. It's a huge mindset shift. On one side, you have this self-exalting rescue, basically trying to be the hero. And that's all about my success, which, is a fast track to creating dependency and burning yourself out. But on the other side, you've got faithful stewardship. This isn't about us. It's about being faithful, empowering others, and finding a resilience that comes from a purpose way bigger than our own wins. Okay, so that brings us to our first pillar, the power of vocational humility. This flows right out of that stewardship idea. I mean, if you see yourself as a steward and not an owner, humility kind of becomes your natural starting point. Now, let's be really clear about what vocational humility means. It is not about putting yourself down. It's about accurate self-knowledge. It's knowing what you know, and, just as important, knowing what you don't know. It's that honesty that lets you say, hey, I need help here, and willingly submitting to some oversight because you know you have blind spots. And this isn't just some abstract idea, it's something you do. It looks like actually showing up for supervision, having the guts to say, I don't know, and being open to feedback without getting all defensive. It's seeing your role as stewardship, not ownership, and accepting that you're never, ever done growing. And this idea is ancient. Proverbs says it right here. Plans fail for lack of counsel, but with many advisors, they succeed. So you see, asking for help isn't a sign of weakness. It's literally the definition of wisdom. I mean, think about it. Even the heavy hitters in Scripture had people in their corner. Moses had Jethro. Paul had Barnabas. Nobody who does this work well does it alone. All right, so if humility is the first pillar, what's the second? Well, it's supervision as a protection. You can't have one without the other. Humility is the willingness to get feedback. Supervision is the actual structure that makes it happen. And I really want you to let this next point sink in. Supervision is a protection, not an obstacle. We have to reframe this. It's not a punishment or a sign you're messing up. It's a guardrail. It's there to protect you, to protect the people you serve, and to protect the entire work. So what are we talking about when we say clinical supervision? It's just a formal process. You've got someone with more experience overseeing your work to give you guidance, hold you accountable, and help you develop as a professional. It's that dedicated time and space to talk through tough cases, get better at what you do, and make sure you're on the right track. And good supervision isn't just one thing. It actually has three key functions. A big chunk of it is educative, learning new skills and developing good judgment. Then there's the supportive piece, which is so important for dealing with burnout. And finally, you have the administrative part, which is about making sure quality is high and you're meeting all the right standards. You really do need all three for this to work long term. Okay, so we've talked about the structure, but let's be real. None of this works if the human connection isn't there. So let's dive into the effective relationship and what makes it tick. So what does a good supervisory relationship look like? Well, first and foremost, you need trust and psychological safety. You've got to feel safe enough to be honest. Then you need clarity. Everyone knows their roles and what's expected. It also has to be regular, not just when there's a fire to put out. And the feedback has to be balanced. You need encouragement and challenge. Finally, it has to focus on both your skills and your well-being as a person. And what's so interesting is when you look at what people want in any helping relationship, friendliness, honesty, empathy, trust, it's the exact same stuff that makes a supervisory relationship work. Think about that. The same things that build an alliance with a client are what build a protective, effective alliance with your supervisor. And the ultimate goal here is to create what's called reciprocal accountability. That just means it's a two-way street. It's not a top-down, I'm the boss kind of thing. It's a partnership, a shared commitment where both people are open, honest, and responsible to each other. When you have that clarity and openness, trust just naturally follows. All right, let's bring it all together. Your next step from zeal to wise stewardship. We've talked about the problem, that unchecked passion, and we've laid out the solution, a foundation of wise, sustainable service. So here's the path, laid out nice and simple. It all starts with that passion, that zeal. But you can't leave it there. You have to ground it in that servant stewardship mindset. From there, you build up that internal pillar of humility. And finally, you protect the whole thing with the external pillar of accountability. That's the formula. So, to wrap this up, let's make it super practical. I want you to think about this question. What is one specific step you will take this week to strengthen your own structure of supervision and accountability? Seriously, maybe it's finally scheduling that coffee with a mentor. Maybe it's just preparing more intentionally for your next supervision. Whatever it is, no matter how small, just take that step. Because that's how you move from just having passion to being a truly wise steward of your work.